Good morning, everyone. This is Britt Simon. So I thought I'd jump on live, take some questions from you, answer some questions if you have any. I'm sure you probably do. And let's see. Oh, hang on. Just got a premium account. Blah blah blah. No, don't want to do that. Fine. So we're not going to be on Twitter apparently because they want a premium account. Anyway, for those of you that are able to join me this morning, um, I'm sure some of you have got questions about DV 2024, how that's going to end, how things are going to work out in the end. Happy to take those questions. Of course, I better just start by saying DV 2020 and DV 2021, we do have the appeal result. There is no good news. There is a possibility of an on-bank appeal, further appeal. But quite honestly, I think all of you need to mentally accept that there is no path forward for DV 2021 and DV 2020 remaining candidates. The appeal court was very, very definitive in the way that they gave their answer. So I think it's going to be a hard battle. Anyway, let's have a look at your questions. Lots of good mornings. Lovely to see somebody there. Where the hell is Palembang? PJ2 Palembang. Don't know what that is. Where's the 2NLs? Ah, yes, of course. This is probably going to be the most popular question. A lot of you are worried about why there's been no 2NLs. And I did post a video the other day to explain my thoughts on why that could be, right? Now, we don't know for certain why there's been no 2NLs. But as I explained in my other video, and I suggest you go and watch that because I'm not going to repeat the whole thing. As I explained in my other video, there are lots of factors, which means that this last set of 2NLs is the more complicated one to produce, right? There are possibly going to be more of them. They want to spread them out to some of the lower used embassies. There's a number of factors that are going into this. And there is absolutely no doubt in my mind, absolutely no doubt, and there shouldn't be any doubt in your mind that there are going to be interviews in September. For the people that say things like, oh, it's finished and there are no more interviews and that sort of thing, those people are idiots. They're nothing more than idiots because they're not paying attention to the data. They're not paying attention to 12 years of experience that I've had. They're not paying attention to just simple bloody common sense. And so, honestly, don't listen to those idiots. They're just going to sap your energy. They're going to sap your hope with their stupidity. Don't get involved with their stupidity. Okay, there are going to be 2NLs. They could come probably by the end of the month. They may come in this coming week, but they should come around about the end of the month. Around about the end of the month does mean that they could come even a few days after the end of the month, although I don't really expect that. And unlike before, where we've had sort of drips and drabs of interviews, some embassies on this day, some embassy on that day, I'm expecting more of a sort of a rush of lots of embassies on one day, lots of 2NLs coming out, because they're doing lots of work to try and put together the best set of 2NLs they can possibly manage. I hope they don't over schedule. Their visa bulletin numbers were complete bullshit. They shouldn't have done what they did because it's given people false hope. And so if you're a high case number, at almost all embassies, it's not going to work out for you. And it's simply because there isn't enough capacity in the system, and there's not enough visas left to issue anyway. Even if the capacity was unlimited, let's say Nairobi took 1,000 interviews, and Algeria took 800 interviews, and Yaoundé took another 500 interviews. Where are all those visas coming from? They're not there, right? The visas are already going to be used up more quickly than that. So if they overschedule, if they schedule more than about 4,000 interviews, then we will start to have concerns about visas being exhausted in September and the process ending early. Okay, so I'm hoping that they don't do that, because that's just one more stab in the belly to give someone an interview, get them all worked up, have them spend money on medicals, have them travel perhaps to the place of the interview, and then cancel their interview at the last moment. That's even more cruel than what we've seen before this month in terms of in terms of the visa bulletin. I think it's cruel to tell people at 122,000 that they're going to get their visas, because they're not. A few people will. A few people will, but it's going to be a very, very small number. I think you're all going to be surprised how few cases above about 85,000 get scheduled. Very, very few cases. 85,000 in Africa, for example. The numbers I gave you before were accurate numbers. It's only, I don't know what the hell's got into their minds, but anyway, so there you go. 2NL is gone. Yeah, here we go. When will 2NL come? I'm from 99K. What do you think? Do I have a chance? No, you don't have a chance. You can do the simple math. In Algeria, what am I expecting in Algeria? No, they're not going to get above about 75,000, 80,000. At 99,000, you have no chance. That's the reality of it. And why they made Algeria current to that level, I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense. It was cruel, wicked, to give you the impression, to give you the idea that you were going to have a chance. It's exactly the sort of thing I'm talking about. You have no chance. So there you go. How's Abu Dhabi? They're a bit weird. They're normally a good embassy, but they've actually sent an email saying that they're fully programmed for the year. So I'm not even sure that they are going to take any interviews in September. We'll have to see. My case is 100K, and my embassy has few cases for the whole year. Do you think that I will get my 2NL soon? Okay. When you say they have few cases for the whole year, if you're in a very, very quiet embassy that somehow had, let's say, up to case number 122,000, their whole, their future demand, the number of people that actually were, could be scheduled at that embassy, maybe that whole thing would be like 20 cases. And I could see a situation like that where an embassy that's super quiet like that said, yeah, we can handle 20 cases, send us whatever you've got. I can see that sort of happening, and those are the sort of instances where case numbers of 100K, 120K, etc., could get a chance in Africa. Same sort of thing in the other regions, 27.5 in Asia, or 50K in Europe. Same sort of thing. It's going to be at these very quiet embassies with almost no cases on a normal basis that will schedule some interviews. But then those 20 cases at some random place in Africa doesn't really help the hundreds and thousands of cases that are expecting their interviews in other bigger embassies. It's just going to be a few number of people that get their interview. So there you go. Hi, Britt Simon. Thanks for your guidance. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, waiting for my PR. Wish me luck and good. And if you have any advice for me, I would appreciate it. Advice for someone newly to the States. I think the biggest trick about living in America, there's lots of individual little pieces of advice I could give, but the one major piece of advice here is be sensible, careful, and smart with money, because money is, famous. What's the famous quote? The love of money is the root of all evil. People often misquote that and say money is the root of all evil. Money is not the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. I believe that's actually a phrase that's got some power and some truth behind it. To be in love with money is the wrong thing, right? But on the other hand, America is a place where if you have money, you can do some amazing things. You've got some amazing opportunities, and whatever you want to do, whether that's enjoyment for yourself, whether that's helping others, whether it's traveling around the rest of the world or traveling around America, all of those things take money. And so if I were advising someone about how to come to America and live a nice life, it's to take care of the money. Don't go into debt. Don't live like an American. don't take on a lot of debt, work hard, spend less than you earn, put some money away for savings. As soon as you've got enough savings, get that savings to start working for you. Be smart with money, and almost at any income level, you can do that. You don't have to get into debt. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses. You know what that phrase means? Like, if you see your neighbor driving a nice new flashy car, don't think you've got to go out there and get a loan to buy a nice new flashy car. You don't. A 5 or 10-year-old car that's reliable is perfectly good enough for anybody. I was driving until when? Probably until about maybe 4 years ago. No, not even that. 2020, I think I bought a car. Yeah, 4 years ago. Until then, I'd been driving a 2002 piece of junk Mustang Ford, which my daughter, frankly, still screams at me about that I got rid of the damn thing. But and I'm a millionaire, right? I'm wealthy. I live in a lovely big house in a very expensive part of the world. I don't have any debt, and I was driving a 20-year-old car. Right? Why? Because I don't place a lot of importance in keeping up with the neighbors, even though my neighbors, frankly, have got some amazing cars, etc. So live with that mindset, right? It's not about how much wealth you have personally. It's about how smart you are with your money. Be smart. Put that money to work. When you've got some money, you'll be amazed at the feeling you get when you wake up in the morning and you check your stocks and shares, or you check your investments, other investments you've made, and you realize that your money has been out working for you all night while you've been sleeping. It's a wonderful thought. So get to that position, and then get to enjoy that. Get to give as much as you want. Get to play as much as you want. Get all the toys that you want. Once you can buy those toys with no loans, then you're in a great position. That's what I would say to you. Anyway, back to the DV lottery stuff. Did Ghana send 2NL for this July? No 2NLs have gone out for September interviews, not to any embassy that I'm aware of. There were some 2NLs sent last week to NAMI and Paris. And those 2NLs were for August interviews. Okay, so no September interviews have gone out. Hope you're well. How likely are the chances for EU 25k in London embassy? Pretty good in London, I would have thought. I'm Algeria 115k. Well, you're going to try again next year. You've got no chance at all. Can we have anything little about these pending 2020? I've already said there's no further possibilities for that. There is some talk of an appeal and on-bank review, but honestly, you have to mentally detach from that. You have to let that go. DV 2020 and 21, they're over. That's what you have to sort of imagine in your mind now. It's too much pain for everybody just continuing thinking about that. Not going to ask where is the 2NLs. Thank you, Ash. My case is in the Kyrgyzstan, I guess. Embassy 30,800, but many cases from Uzbekistan have been moved there. Is that right? Will they be in line first? There's a whole video I did about how AV queues work. So I don't know how they've moved these cases from Uzbekistan. You'd have to have some inside knowledge, which I don't have, to know what what they've done. So I don't know. That's probably the best answer I can give you. 82k Algeria. Do I have my location? I changed my location to Tunisia. Any chance? Okay, if you already changed your location to Tunisia, then maybe you've got a chance there. You don't stand a chance, in my opinion, at Algeria. So maybe you've got a chance there. Fingers crossed for you. You'll know within a couple of weeks. You'll know for sure whether you've got a chance or not in a couple of weeks, right? I'm DV25 winner. My case number is 22k. Is there any chance to get an interview? I'm in Addis. Okay, so you broke a golden rule. You didn't tell me your region, but you're in Addis, right? So I'm going to say that you are an Africa region case, 22k. Now, Addis in DV 2024 were very slow, have been very slow throughout the year, but they're probably in the final interviews, they're probably going to issue to annuls up to about 28,000 roughly. So based on that, your 22K may be okay in DV 2025, but we don't know yet how how embassies are going to behave, right? Some could get better, some could get worse. And so you have to be a little bit careful with your number, and you have to pay attention over the next few weeks and a couple of months. And it may become important for you to move your country, to another country before you get current. It's very important that you do that before you get current, right? So pay attention to my channel over the next few weeks and months, frankly, all the time. Why would you not? Like, if I go live or if I publish a video, you need to digest that thing seriously. Like, you got a green card opportunity. I had some guy today that sent me a message. He was 22K, I think, in Accra. No, 32K. And, I've been saying for almost 6 months now. No, more than 6 months. More than 6 months, 7 months. Like, I've been explaining the problems in Accra, and this guy doesn't know anything about it. And so, he's asking, when am I going to get my interview? He's not going to get his interview. His chance is totally screwed. Now, if he'd have listened to me 6 and 7 months ago when I was talking about this, if he'd have heard what I was saying, he might have saved his green card. But he didn't. For whatever reason, maybe you hadn't heard of me. I don't know, whatever. But it's foolish to not listen to the information, because the information will change, right? Things will change and there'll be updates. So if you want your green cards, stay connected to the community, at least the community, if not directly to me, to find out what's actually going on, and take action when you need to. Another guy I had, he's been asking me for a couple of weeks, what should I do? Shall I go to America and do adjustment of status, or shall I stay here? And I told him 2 weeks ago, get your ass on a plane, get to America and adjust status. And he's just wasted, he asked me again yesterday. He's just wasted 2 weeks for no good reason. I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make the horse drink, right? It's up to you guys to figure out what you're going to do, right? Can I analyze Iraq? Well, not really. I mean, Iraq is too small. Let me just see. No. BGH, right? So, yeah, they may take a few. 16 is about 30. Maybe they get to about 18 or 19,000, maybe 20,000. That sort of situation, Brad. Okay. Curious how KDU is going to perform, because it is only limited the visa bulletin to 13,000. The reason that the visa bulletin was limited to 13,000 is that there are no Nepali cases above that, right? So essentially what they did was they made Nepal current, which is normal. They do that every year. It almost always goes current, right? But they don't state the word current for the country. They just put the maximum number in there. So every case in Nepal that I know of is current. Yes, it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the final month. They need to take quite a few interviews, I think. And then the whole bunch of Africans that moved out, I don't know what's going to happen about those cases. Case number is 2024 AS 27 731. Is it finished? Yes, it's finished. There's absolutely no way the visa bulletin is going to change now. Your number is above that number, and if it's not going to happen. There's nothing that you can do. I transferred my case to Vienna. Good idea for DV25, but I don't live there. KCC transferred. So is it a problem for the embassy? Okay, so I don't know I don't know what you said to KCC to make them transfer your case to Vienna, or where you were from. So it's a little bit difficult for me to sort of understand why you've done that so early. I don't know your case number, your region, anything. So then asking, is it a problem for the embassy? Well, not really, but I don't know the specifics around your case. So I can't answer that. Eddie says, since 75k is the cutoff number for Africa, no, it isn't. Oh dear. Does it mean that all numbers above this cutoff won't be getting the 2NL? So, Eddie, apparently you've been on another planet in the last year and a half because you don't understand what the word current means. Current, when you see 75k 1 month and then the next month it goes to current, it means current is the same as if they'd have made the number 123,000, right? There are no cases above 122,000 something. And so if you saw the number 123,000, that would be the same thing as writing the word current in there for Africa. They've made every case number eligible for interview numerically. That does not mean that every case number is going to get an interview. In fact, the vast majority of the people that have been made current are not going to get an interview. But numerically, at least, the word current in Africa means they removed the numeric restriction. Any case number can theoretically get an interview, right? That's what it means. How you haven't learned that in the last year and a half is beyond me, but whatever. My sister has interviewed for August first week. She will be interviewed in August because August the first week hasn't happened yet. Her health is 100% now, but she has previously treated tuberculosis before 10 years and she became cured. Could it cause any problem? What I would have recommended in a case like that is having a proactive early medical. And there's some difficulties with that. Having a medical early is, obviously it's expensive, but it's sometimes worth doing because what you could have done, for example, is she could have had a medical around about March, if she could afford this, right? March or April, something like that. And at that time, if there had been any concerns about TB, because sometimes TB leaves a scar on the lungs, which, to be safe, they treat as if it's TB. And that treatment takes 3 months. So if the medical that she goes for now suggests that she's got TB problems, then the 3-month treatment means that she will not get the visa, right? Now, she could have mitigated that by going for a medical early. She could even have done a medical as late as, June. And perhaps that would have shortened the amount of time she had on the visa as an expiring date. But it would have made things a little bit easier if she had that problem, right? So she'll have to see what the TB test comes up with in the medical. I hope it works out that she doesn't have any problems. But if she has a problem and they insist on a 3-month course of treatment, then that is going to be the end of her journey. So to avoid that risk, an early medical would have been a wise thing. But anyway. Okay, when should we expect the DV 2025 2NLs? They will come after the visa bulletin that's published in August. So the cadence is, for all you DV 2025 people that don't know, and all you DV 2024 people, you should know this, right? Please don't tell me you don't know this. The visa bulletin is always published, always, between the 8th and the 15th. And when I say always, I mean roughly. Sometimes it's published on the 7th, sometimes it's published on the 16th or the 17th, but generally speaking, the target window that you expect the visa bulletin to be published is between the 8th and the 15th of each month, right? There are some exceptions, but just focus on the 8th or 15th. There are some technical reasons why it's not supposed to be before the 8th. But anyway, so when the visa bulletin is published in August, then immediately after that time, they'll start to set up 2NLs and send out 2NLs for interviews in October. And October the 1st is when the first DV 2025 interviews can happen. They cannot possibly happen before then, right? So basically, after the visa bulletin is issued, then we can see 2NLs, and those 2NLs will be for October, right? That's the exact cadence, and it's the same every single month. It's exactly like that, just a month later every time, right? So in September, there will be a visa bulletin published between the 8th and the 15th, and then and that will refer to interviews in November. Okay, that's how it works. Okay. Oh, Majid, interesting. I'm from Algeria, 115K, living in UAE. I don't think UAE is going to help you, actually. I read your message earlier as thinking you were Algerian in Algeria, and 115K has no chance there. UAE, I don't think you've got any chance there either, but wait and see. When are you going to know the number of selectees for DV 2025, and what will that mean for case numbers? Okay. So I was hoping to see the selectee numbers published in the visa bulletin that was published in July, but it wasn't there, and so that means it'll be in the visa bulletin that will be published in August. So again, between the 8th and the 15th of August. In that visa bulletin, at the end of that visa bulletin, at the bottom of the page, it will list by region every country within the region and a number of selectees in that country that have been selected. The selectee number is people. It's not cases, it's people. So it's a husband and wife and 2 kids would be 4 people in that number, right? And that's 4 visas out of the 55,000, by the way, that they would need, right? It's not 1 visa per family. It's 1 visa for each person. But all those 4 people, husband, wife, and 2 kids, they would all be on 1 case number, right? So what we can do is, when we know the number of selectees per country and per region, we can start to see, okay, is it a very under-selected year or an over-selected year? And along with the survey that we conducted of case numbers, we'll have a rough idea at that time how good, how bad things are going to be in the year, right? Not perfect, but a rough idea. And then in January, on January the 1st, we'll have access to the SEAC data for DV 2025. And that will give us the precise number ranges, the distribution of cases and holes and everything else, right? So, and if what I'm saying to you makes no sense, then you need to go read my articles or watch my videos where I've explained holes theory, where I've explained how the draw happens, that sort of thing. And I've written a lot of that sort of stuff on my blog over the years, and created several videos on it. So you definitely will be able to find things like that. Okay, so holes theory and the draw process, that's what you need to understand. So what will it mean in terms of case numbers? Yeah, we won't know precisely what the case numbers will be. We're still going to be relying on that survey results for the time being, but we'll have a much better idea than we have now. And if, by the way, if for example, and I don't think this will happen, but if, for example, the numbers show we've only got 90,000 selectees, and a fairly good distribution between each country and each region, then I will immediately be able to say, hey, there's no problem. You're all going to be current, right? Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to say that because they've been over-selecting, and over-selecting means selecting significantly more than 100,000 people. But if they only select like 90,000, it'll be everybody will be happy. If they select 80,000, the lowest number I ever saw selected was 83,000. If they select 83,000 or something like that, 85,000, we might even be seeing a second draw. That's the conditional part of whether there could be a second draw or not. They have to select a very low number of cases in the first draw. Now, one piece of news about DV 2025 that I want to give a little bit more detail on in a future video is that there is a new law that is taking some of the allocation of DV 2025 away. It's taking about 3,500 visas, up to 3,500 visas, will be taken away from DV 2025. So instead of 55,000, there will be 51,500 visas available. So the numbers are going to be tight if they go and select a lot of people again, right? And so we have to think about the impact of that. That's almost 7% reduction in the number of visas that we have for DV 2025. So that's a fairly important thing. I will create a video explaining a bit more detail about what's happened why that is over the next few days. Okay. If Mr. Trump wins the presidential elections, will it be impacting DV lottery winners? I've recorded 2 videos on this exact subject in the last few days, thinking I would publish one of them. But each time I review what I say, I realize that I'm getting too sort of anti-Trump, and I get bogged down with my feelings about that stupid man. So I'll try a third time. I'll try a third time, and I'll publish a video on that subject in the next couple of days. Basically, he can't stop the DV lottery just by changing laws, but he can interfere with it. He can interfere with the process, particularly for some people from some countries. And you know who you are. It's you Muslims out there, because Trump is, he's a racist against most people that are not white American Christians, but he's particularly uncomfortable with Muslims, and his followers are particularly uncomfortable with Muslims, and what he considers to be Islam-led countries which have a higher instance of terrorism, often directed at the USA. So he can make things more difficult for people in general, and he will probably do something to make life a bit more difficult for people from Muslim countries, I would imagine. We'll have to wait and see. Okay. Yeah, I did that. Is the embassy performance related to the ambassador assigned? No, it's not. It's not about the ambassador. It's really, embassy performance is mostly to do with the number of immediate relative cases that embassy does. That IR category is a higher priority than DV. IR category relates to the very close relatives of American citizens, daughters and parents of sons, daughters, even adopted sons and daughters, and parents of American citizens. Those categories are supposed to have an immediately available visa, and the processing is supposed to be fast. And that's a benefit for American citizens. It's looking after your own people first, which is understandable, right? That category of visa, which is an IR category, if your embassy has a lot of those, then that can mean that they reduce the capacity for DV lottery cases, and that's happening in a number of places. But is it down to the ambassador? No, it's not. It's not really based on the ambassador. Title of the video is 2004. Whoops. Oh well. You still managed to find it. How is Thailand embassy doing? I don't know. Have a look at the data. From Bhutan, DV25 winner, case number is 21K. Is there any chance for interview? When you give me a case number without giving me your region, even though I might be able to guess it, I don't want to guess it. I want you to tell me. And if you don't tell me the region when you give me your case number, I have to go and kill an angel, right? So an angel is now going to die in your name, right? So don't do that. Bertin, welcome, sir. DV25, AF2K, Kigali. Any chance there'll be a first interview in October? Secondly, how can I be sure if my DS260 was properly filled? Well, second question first. You can check your own DS260. You can review it. Where it says completed on the DS260, you can click into it and you can go through and review and make sure you haven't made any silly mistakes. So you are responsible for your DS260. Nobody at KCC is going to contact you ever. This will never happen. They won't contact you and say, hey, you've made a mistake on your DS260. That is not their job. That's not their position. It's not their role. So you are responsible for checking your own DS260. Any chance it will be in the first to be interviewed in October? Yeah, there's some chance, but it doesn't really matter. Whether it's October or November, doesn't matter. The green card is exactly the same. The one that you get in November or December is the same as the ones given out in October. Right? So patience, chill, it's fine. I'm from Sri Lanka and my case number is AS 2024 AS 15,002. Still no 2NL for Colombo MC. Provide your view. Yeah, okay, let's talk about CNN. So I think you're going to be at risk. 15.2. Yeah, I think if they take the number of the sort of typical number of interviews that they have taken, it'll be probably 18, maybe 20, maybe 25, but it won't be a lot of interviews. Their average at the moment for CLM, let's see, the number average is 17. So they take about 17 cases per 1,000 case numbers, and their capacity, the highest capacity that they took all year, I think was 18. So they can only move about 1,000, and they're at about 11,000 right now. So they're probably not going to get to 15,000, is what I'm saying. And in order to get to 15,000, they would need to schedule something like 100 interviews, which I don't think they're going to do. Okay, that's sorry for the bad news there, but that's the reality. AF 25,000. The case number is 35K. Oh, AF 2025. Case number is 35K plus. Last year I made F1 interview in Djibouti embassy, but unfortunately I didn't win. Winning is like being approved or not. Would you recommend me again to take Djibouti for DV case or change other embassy? Okay. So people sometimes don't really understand the difference between an immigrant visa and a non-immigrant visa. An F1 visa is a non-immigrant visa. B1, B2 is the same, J1, etc. And in all of those, or in most, I should say, most non-immigrant visas have a concern that the CEO is supposed to be satisfied that you do not have immigrant intent, that you're not planning to overstay at the end of your visa. And so the single largest reason that non-immigrant visas are denied is because they suspect that you'll try and stay there. Now, when you apply for an immigrant visa, that reason doesn't exist, right? Because obviously you're planning to stay there. It's an immigrant visa, right? So obviously you have immigrant intent, and that isn't a problem. That's normal. That's the whole point. So, so the fact that you've been denied before on an F1 was probably because they suspected that you wouldn't leave the country at the end of your visa, that you have some sort of desire to emigrate to the USA. And hey presto, you have now proven them right because you won the DV lottery and you're thinking about moving there to America, right? So they were right to deny you, in a sense, on the F1, but they won't use that same reason to deny you on the DV lottery case, right? It's as simple as that. Okay. What are the questions being asked to couples? Okay, so the only time couples go through any sort of special questioning is when those people have married after the win, right? If you marry before you're selected in DV lottery, then there's no real concern. But if you marry after the DV lottery win, they are looking for fraudulent marriages where you're getting married simply to get an extra green card. And so in those cases, they're asking information that proves that you are a genuine couple. They want to know if you've had a relationship before. Can you show that? Can you prove your relationship before? Have you taken trips together? Can you show us some texts from before you won? You know, what did you have a big wedding? Was there lots of family there? Was lots of friends there? Or was it a very small wedding, which was almost like a non-event? You know, that's the sort of thing they're looking for. But other than that, they're not really trying to check, you know, catch couples out. So it's the same questions as every other case in general. Okay. Okay. Will there be a second draw for DV25? Already talked about that. Talked about how many selectees there will be and what difference that will make. Okay. Any chance for DV25, 21K in Nairobi, and when? Very good chance, because Nairobi has been performing very well. So, you know, you should be fine. 21K is a good number. Mantha says, Mum, Brizon went live. Grab the camera. That's hilarious. Okay, after 9 months, 221G a man. Wow. No need to send documents. Case last updated 18th of July. Well, it's a long time to wait. It's not the longest I've ever heard, but it is a long time to wait. You should be contacting the embassy and asking them what's going on, right? Just do that. What are the steps after filling the DS-260? Do you get an email or what? And also the medical process and police certificate. Okay. So some people will tell you that they receive a confirmation email after the DS-260, and some people don't get that confirmation email. The reason for that difference is there's actually an option in the DS-260 to say whether you want the confirmation email or not. But it doesn't matter. Whether you get the confirmation email or not doesn't make any difference. There's no concern about that. So once you've submitted the DS-260, you wait for that to be processed and for your number to become current. When your number is current and processed, if your embassy has capacity, they will schedule your interview. And when you receive that 2NL, that's generally when you get documents together. Although for police certificates, you might want to apply a bit earlier. And so you can apply for police certificates early if you want, but generally you wait until you get the 2NL. Then when you get the 2NL, and the 2NL, by the way, is an email that says, go check your ESC page. And the ESC page is the website where you saw, congratulations, you are selected. You go back into that page and you'll see, instead of the you are selected letter, you'll see that's replaced with a letter that has your appointment details, okay? Once you have that letter, you know when you're going to be scheduled, you know all the information, and you then go and make your medical appointment, and you take that medical, you get all your documents together, and you attend the interview. All right, that's it. That's the whole process in a nutshell. It's pretty easy if you just follow the bloody instructions. It really is. Have a quick question. DB25, somebody entered wrong chargeability country. Advice, please. It depends on the two countries involved. If you were from, let's say, Egypt, and you put in, let's say you put in Nepal, right? You're supposed to be in the Africa region, not the Asia region, but you'll have an Asia number, an AS number. In that case, unless you've got reason to charge to that Asia number, then your case is done. It's going to be disqualified for sure at the interview. There's no way to fix it, right? If, however, the two countries are within the same region, then that's often forgiven, except where you've moved your country from a limited country, such as Egypt, to a non-limited country, such as South Africa, right? And what do I mean by limited? Well, some countries are limited in the draw, and so the chance of selection from those countries is actually less than other countries in the region. There are certain countries like that. The consular officers kind of understand that, kind of know that, and therefore they would know that you achieved an advantage by selecting country B when actually you should have been in country A. And so they can disqualify on that basis. Now, country of chargeability is normally based on your country of birth. It's nothing to do with your nationality or your citizenship or anything else like that. And there are two exceptions to that. One is where you've married someone from a different country of birth. You can choose that spouse's country of birth for your chargeability. And you can do that whether or not their country is, well, your own country rather, is eligible or not. And the second reason is if you can prove that your parents were only in the country where you were born temporarily for some good reason at the time of your birth. Right, so you're from France, but you were born in Johannesburg because your parents' French employer had sent you to South Africa or sent them to South Africa when your mum was pregnant and you got born there, right? In that case, you could choose to be eligible to France. Although I would suggest in that particular example, just choose Africa. There's no real difference between Africa and France in terms of your chance of selection. Where it really comes into play is the Oceania region. Oceania has a much higher chance of selection, much higher than any of the other regions. And so a lot of people find themselves being selected in Oceania because they mistakenly choose some country in Oceania. Every year, for example, I have people that are selected in the country of Nauru, which is an island chain, I believe, in Oceania, but it is very close to Nepal. So I have Nepalese candidates who find themselves being selected in Nauru, and they're not going to get a visa. They're going to get disqualified, and it happens every year. And there's something like on my mouse, if you can see my mouse, there's a little scroll wheel. And I think that's the reason why some people lose their chance. They select the country of chargeability, and then they scroll using that wheel. And instead of the page moving up and down, the selection moves up and down. And so they select the wrong country. And sometimes that's just going to blow you out of the water. There's nothing you can do about it. And I have arguments with people every year about this. And there's a pretty funny one going on one of the forums where this person who's got, I think she's got a master's, a PhD, got all sorts of education, and she will not accept that she made a mistake in her entry. And, and KCC just happened to choose the country where she's living as her country of chargeability, but it couldn't have been her mistake, right? It works for 25 million other people every year, but for her, that form made a mistake because she couldn't have made that mistake. Hello. Anyway, so there you go. All right, let's see. Let's see, a couple more questions and then we'll call it a day, I think. Brit Simon went live. Finally, I can sleep like a baby tonight, says Samantha. What is it with you and me going live? It's like, it's not such a big thing. High blood pressure is not an issue. I have high blood pressure and I got my visa. Of course, somebody is asking about high blood pressure. Oh my God. Greetings, Brit. Can high blood pressure cause one's visa? Oh dear. So I've made a video and a blog article about what are the diseases that can cause denial. None of them are high blood pressure. What they're concerned about is diseases that you could bring to the country that will spread amongst our country, right? And it's not high blood pressure. They don't care. I've had people ask me. I've had some guy. I remember this one. He said one leg of mine is shorter than the other. Will that cause me denial? Who gives a crap? Nobody cares. Although it's very useful if you want to run around mountains. One way to have one leg that's shorter than the other. It's very good. You can run around hills one direction, but you fall over if you go the other way. But God, stupid sense of humor I've got. But yeah, so nobody cares if you've got one leg shorter than the other, if you've got big ears, if you wear glasses, if you've got high blood pressure. Nobody cares, because none of that stuff is going to come into society and be cause a pandemic within America of big ears. That's not going to happen, right? So nobody cares. Please, let's use some common sense. Any idea why the Colombo embassy didn't send any journals after May? No idea. I've got no inside information. What's the dress code for interview? What's the refusal rate for DV visa? Dress code. There isn't a precise dress code. You don't have to wear very formal gear. Generally just dress smart. It's like you're going for a sort of informal business meeting, right? You don't want to dress like a tramp, right? You certainly want to be in a nicer t-shirt than the one I'm wearing this morning. I've been cleaning the backyard already. Dress up a little bit smart, but you don't have to be very formal, right? Just, imagine you're trying to impress someone, but don't go there in full national dress costume or something, or full military outfit. Don't do that. Okay. What's the refusal rate for DV visa? Around about 10%, roughly. It varies by region, varies by country actually, but you can roughly assume 10%. Do we get any opportunity for AS 11,300 in CLM by any chance? Yes, you might do. Just about. Yours is about the highest CLM. Yeah. I think maybe up to about your sort of range, you should be okay. Okay. AF83 interview at Freetown, Sierra Leone. Still no 2NL. Any hope? Let's have a look at Freetown. FTN, right? Yeah, FTN. Okay, your AF what? AF 83. Oh man, it's going to be close. You're going to be right on the possibilities, right? But you need them to give their best number of interviews that they've done all year, but it's not extreme. You've got a bit of a chance, right? You've got some hope, but it might just finish just below your number or just above your number. About 80K is what I'm thinking, but it could be 83, just about. Okay. If I already in the United States, current address, fill US address or home country better. If selected, can I file I-485 change status in US? Oh, you're not selected yet. Okay. Yeah, you can do adjustment of status in the USA on an I-485. There's a whole process around that. You can do that if selected. And you obviously fill in your current address on the application. The application is opening in October again. Don't fill an application on any other site other than the official site. Don't trust anybody with your information to do it for you. Don't go through any agency. There's no need to do that, and it can only cause you difficulties. So don't do that. Just make sure you apply on the official site in October. Totally free. So just do that, okay? I got visa, but when I checked, there was spelled wrong, and when they mismatched my present address. So, if there will be any problem with the checkpoint, can you please give advice on what to do? The address that they have, doesn't really matter, right? But the name on the visa is very important. If that is wrong, and it's wrong on your visa, then you need to contact the embassy and have it corrected, because you're going to use that visa, and the name on that visa will become your name in the USA, and all your documentation should match to that. So yes, do correct that. Just contact the embassy and they will correct it for you. Okay. 2024 AF 28K Addis Ababa has a chance. Yes, just about. That's just about the highest number I expect will get an interview in Addis. I can't be 100% sure, obviously, but you have a chance, a good chance. Okay. Right. Do we need 10K mandatory when we get a visa? What's the condition? Okay, you're talking about the amount of dollars necessary to show that you've got savings to support yourself. So this will be my last question, and I just want to explain this one. It's kind of important. There is a general concept in immigrant interviews that you have to assure the consular officer that you are not going to become a public charge. Public charge is someone that needs support by the government and local agencies, etc., in order to survive. Right? You need handouts, money to help you with food or lodging or whatever else. And the condition on every immigrant is that you are not in that position, right? And that condition also extends to a DV lottery. If you're doing a family-based case or a work-based case, they insist on having some financial supporter in those cases who is legally responsible for your debts should you get into that position, right? In DV lottery, they can't make someone legally responsible for that. They tried in the past, but they failed. And so they use a form called the I-134, which is an affidavit of support. It's a promise to support someone that is coming to the country, but it's not legally enforceable, right? So the I-134 is one way that you can assure the CO that you won't become a public charge. Another way is to show your own personal savings, and in general, at least $10,000 US dollars would be the sort of amount that you would have to show in order to avoid becoming a public charge. They also accept some other reasons, though, or some other sort of things, like, for example, a job offer of someone in the USA can be very compelling. And in some countries, the fact that you're going to stay with a host can be enough to satisfy the CO. And so if you've got someone who's going to host you, that could be enough, right? And that host would provide lodging, perhaps help you with finding a job and that sort of thing, right? So it varies by case. Like, if you can imagine, if a CO is seeing 100 people in a day, of those 100 people, some will be well presented, well educated, smart, intelligent and everything else, and some will be complete numbnuts, right? And not so smart up there, not so smartly dressed, and perhaps more of a concern for public charge, right? And so they're making an assessment, like it or not, whether you like this way of me telling you or not. They're making an assessment, a judgment of the person that they're seeing on the other side of the desk. And so in some cases, they could say, hey, this guy seems like a smart cookie, or she seems like a really smart lady. She's got a great career. She's well educated. She's going to do very well in America. I don't need to worry. And the CEO may not even ask that person any questions about money. In other embassies or with another case, that same CEO or at a different embassy, there may be questions asked about finances, right? It doesn't necessarily reflect badly on you if they ask you about that, but because some embassies are more concerned than others. So, for example, in Australia, in Sydney Embassy, is very rarely asked about finances, because everyone in Australia is pretty good at making do, getting by, couch surfing if they needed to. They got friends, they got money, well educated, speak the language. There's no real concerns, right? But there could be sort of other countries where there could be more concerns and they've got more worries, so they're asking for proof of finances or I-134s or that sort of thing. Okay, so it varies. But anyway, that's the thing. And if they do ask for finances and that sort of thing, by the way, then that can be a reason for denial if you can't satisfy the CEO on that basis, right? So it's not always asked for, but if it is asked for, then you must satisfy the CEO about that. All right, everybody, I've got lots of chores to do today. I'm cleaning up the backyard. I've got some family coming, or friends coming this week. And so I've got chores to do, and so I need to go and do that. So I'm going to call it a day. Done almost an hour here. And hopefully that was useful for you. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you don't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Well, let me know what you think, okay? All right, everybody, have a good day. Bye-bye.